Have you ever wondered how a country where women wear almost no heavy makeup, don't own extensive wardrobes, and don't spend their weekends at hair salons, still manages to look put together, refined, and unquestionably intentional every single time they walk out the door? You've spent 30 minutes on your morning routine. You've bought the trending pieces, tried the seasonal palettes, watched the tutorials your algorithm keeps recommending. And somehow, most mornings, the mirror still gives back a version of you that looks like it's missing something you can't quite name. Japanese women aren't spending more time in front of the mirror. What they have is 5 small daily decisions, so woven into ordinary Japanese life that most women there wouldn't even describe them as beauty habits. Almost none of them involve buying anything new. 2 of them take under 30 seconds combined. And the last one on this list is not a step you add. It's a single choice you make once, and never really have to think about again. If this kind of content feels like the right fit, the Japanese approach to living simply and well, a like and a subscribe genuinely help this channel reach people who are actually looking for it. Now, let's start with the very first thing that happens every Japanese morning at the bathroom sink. The morning begins at the sink, and what happens there is the shortest routine most Western women would ever recognize as skincare. Cleanse, moisturize, sunscreen. That's it. There's no toner rinsed on with a cotton pad, no essence patted in with palms, no serum layered on top of another serum, no eye cream applied separately, no morning mask left on for 10 minutes while the coffee brews. In Japan, the morning face is treated as a foundation that needs to breathe, not a canvas that needs to be prepared for hours of correction. The reason lies in how skin actually behaves when it isn't asked to absorb 10 layers of product in a row. Overlayering, which is one of the biggest quiet mistakes in the modern Western routine, forces the skin to work through molecule after molecule of active ingredients before it ever gets to do what it does on its own. The result is congestion, sensitivity, and a surface that looks tired precisely because it never gets left alone long enough to look rested. 3 carefully chosen products, one that cleans, one that hydrates, one that protects, deliver almost everything the morning skin actually needs, and let the sunscreen sit properly on top without breaking down halfway through the day. The visible effect of this simplicity is what most people mistake for good genes. A skin that isn't being over-treated all morning starts to look calmer, more even, more naturally lit from within, which is the exact quality that makes heavy foundation feel unnecessary in the first place. Japanese women wear far less foundation than Western women, and the reason is upstream. They don't need to cover skin that hasn't been quietly agitated by the routine that came before it. Try cutting your morning skincare down to 3 steps for 2 weeks. Cleanser, moisturizer, sunscreen, and notice what stops being needed. The moment the face is done, the hair takes about 30 seconds. And that's the second reason nothing about the morning looks unfinished. Once the face is finished, the hair takes roughly 30 seconds and involves no heat, no products, and no attempt to change its natural shape. Japanese women, as a general morning practice, don't style their hair. They gather it. A low ponytail at the nape of the neck, a soft loose bun secured with a single stick or clip, a small braid tucked neatly against the shoulder. The hair is contained, considered, and clearly attended to, but nothing about it feels like it took effort, because nothing about it did. There's a real difference between hair that has been styled and hair that has been gathered, and it comes down to how the eye reads intention. Styled hair reads as, "she is trying." Gathered hair reads as, "she has decided." The first requires maintenance throughout the day, worries about humidity, retouching in bathroom mirrors, and mid-afternoon repair. The second stays exactly the way it started in the morning, and only looks better as the day softens around it. Behind this practice sits one small structural habit that most Western women never quite land on. Japanese women get their hair cut in shapes that hold themselves. Ends that are blunt rather than heavily layered, lengths that fall naturally at collarbone or shoulder or mid-back, cuts that don't rely on styling to make sense of themselves. When the hair is trimmed correctly, gathering it takes almost no thought because there's nothing about the cut that fights against the gathering. So try this tomorrow morning. Instead of blow-drying or curling, just gather. A low ponytail with a soft elastic. A loose bun. Notice that the day doesn't require you to check the hair even once after leaving the house. What comes next isn't a habit at all in the way we normally think about habits. It's the way a Japanese woman uses her body to stand. And it's arguably the single largest reason nothing about her ever reads as messy. Notice something almost every Western beauty tutorial quietly leaves out. The way a Japanese woman stands, walks, and sits carries more of the impression of being put together than any product she owns or any garment she puts on. Posture is doing about half of the work, and it's the half nobody in Western beauty culture is really talking about. Watch a Japanese woman waiting at a train platform. Chin gently lifted, not tucked into the chest. Shoulders relaxed and low, not tensed toward the ears. Spine long, not collapsed forward around a phone screen. Feet placed together, not spread apart in a wide stance. Nothing about the posture is stiff or performed. It simply carries an internal geometry that makes every garment she wears sit correctly on her frame, every accessory hang the way it was designed to hang, every fabric drape the way it was cut to drape. Compare this to the way most Western bodies default when they aren't being consciously watched. Head forward, shoulders rolled inward, spine slightly hunched from decades of sitting at screens, weight shifted onto one hip. A silk blouse worn against this posture reads as wrinkled. The same blouse worn against a lifted spine and open shoulders reads as considered. The garment hasn't changed at all. The frame it's hanging on has. This isn't discipline in the sense of forcing yourself to stand a certain way. It's more like a small daily noticing. Every time you pass a mirror, every time you catch yourself hunched at a desk, every time you feel yourself collapsing toward a phone. Chin gently up, shoulders soft, spine long. 3 cues, taking half a second each, that quietly reset how everything you're wearing sits on your body. Give this 3 seconds of attention every time you catch a reflection of yourself during the day. By evening, no one will have named the change, but the way people speak to you, glance at you, and read you across a room will have quietly adjusted around it. By the time a Japanese woman reaches for her clothes, most of the decisions about how the outfit will look have already been made by her skin, her hair, and the way she carries herself. What she actually pulls out of the closet is where the 4th habit lives. Open the closet of a Japanese woman in her 40s. And one of the first things that becomes apparent is how quiet it is. The palette rarely wanders far from 3 foundational colors. A neutral, like white or ivory, a soft dark, like navy or charcoal, and one grounding tone that sits between them, like camel or slate or muted olive. Almost everything in the closet talks to almost everything else in the closet. And the effort of getting dressed in the morning simply doesn't include the friction of trying to make unlike things go together. This isn't a strict uniform, And it isn't the aesthetic of Japanese minimalism as it's usually portrayed on Instagram. It's something more practical than that. A 3-color foundation means every top pairs with every bottom by default. Every jacket layers over everything else without a moment's thought. No morning is wasted trying to match a hard-to-place blouse against pants that fight with it. The mental load of dressing well drops toward zero. And what emerges every day is an outfit that reads as intentional because the components were never asked to compete with each other in the first place. Alongside the color discipline sits a second, quieter habit. Japanese women prioritize fit above almost anything else about a garment. A modest cotton blouse cut to sit properly across the shoulders, taper at the waist, and finish at the correct point on the hip will read as considered no matter how ordinary the fabric. An expensive blouse cut incorrectly for the body wearing it will read as thrown on, no matter the price on the tag. Fit is what silently distinguishes a woman who looks put together from one who looks like she's borrowing someone else's wardrobe. And it's the one thing that no amount of styling advice can compensate for later. The two habits sit on top of each other. 3 colors that talk to each other in shapes that actually fit the body they're on. The wardrobe becomes small, focused, endlessly wearable, and the effort of looking pulled together drops to almost nothing. So, picking 3 colors for your wardrobe this month and quietly retiring anything that doesn't belong to them. There's one last habit that runs alongside everything else, and it's the smallest single choice on this list, but arguably the one that ties the whole impression together. The final habit isn't a new step in the morning. It's a single choice made once and then quietly repeated for years. Japanese women, especially past 40, tend to wear one signature detail, and only one, that stays consistent across nearly every outfit they own. For some women, it's a pair of small gold earrings that rarely leave the ears, worn from workday to weekend to formal dinner without ever feeling wrong for the occasion. For others, it's a slim leather watch on the same wrist, day after day, that becomes almost part of the way the hand looks in every photograph ever taken. For others still, it's a light silk scarf tied at the neck the same way each morning, or a single silver pin fastened at the collar, or a specific shade of lipstick that's applied the same color whether it's a Tuesday or a wedding. The specific object doesn't matter. What matters is that it exists, that it stays, and that it becomes part of how the woman is remembered without her having to think about it. The reason this works is quiet but powerful. A signature detail creates identity, a small, consistent visual thread that stitches every outfit together into a single recognizable version of a person. Instead of the eye landing on different accessories every day and reading each of them separately, it lands on the same one again and again, and starts to associate it with the woman herself. Coats change, seasons change, jobs change, and the small gold earrings stay. Over years, that becomes the strongest single element of how she is seen. There's also a mental effect that most people never quite land on. When one accessory is decided permanently, no mourning ever includes the question of what to wear on the ears, or the wrist, or at the neck. That decision left the daily list years ago. What remains is the actual outfit, chosen from 3 quiet colors in a wardrobe that fits, worn on a body carrying itself well above a face that isn't overworked and framed by hair that's been gathered rather than styled. Every piece of the impression is already handled, except the one signature detail, which doesn't need handling either, because it was decided long ago. This is the smallest habit on the list, And it's the one that most quietly creates the impression that a woman always looks like that. Because, in a way, she does. She simply stopped requiring the details to be reinvented every morning. Japanese women aren't doing more to look put together than Western women. They're doing considerably less. But the less they do consistently, in the right places. And it holds up across every hour of the day, without needing to be adjusted or reinvented. 3 steps of skincare. Hair gathered, not styled. A body that carries itself. 3 colors that pair with themselves. And 1 signature detail chosen once and worn forever. None of these are dramatic. None of them require money, or a stylist, or a 2-hour morning. Together, they describe why a country of women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s still walks around looking quietly considered, without a single one of them ever feeling like they had to try for it. Which one are you starting with? Leave it in the comments. I will read every one. If this quiet, green Japanese approach to living well resonates with you, Wabitara is where we collect these habits one video at a time. Subscribing means the next one finds you instead of the other way around. Take care of what you already have. Goodbye, and see you in the next video.